we've talked about the corner spot and how it feels like there is perhaps some anecdotal evidence that the Lions are going to change the way they approach the draft. They've had 7 corners come in for their limited 30 visits. They met with an 8th corner at the draft, and I'm sure there's more that haven't been reported yet. And just because you meet with somebody doesn't mean you're going to take that player. And just because you didn't meet with somebody doesn't mean you're not going to take that player. But it feels like they are really doing their homework on the corner spot. The Cam Sutton situation, that late curveball, has probably, I don't know if rattled them's not the word. It's probably the unexpected that they have to adjust to. And it feels like that adjustment might come on draft day. You're interviewing players that would fall into a bucket of if you can trade up. You're interviewing players that look like they could be on the board at 29. You're interviewing players that look like they could be on the board at 61. And you're interviewing players that could be on the board later in the draft. We talked about free agency. You've kind of been in the Stephon Gilmore camp for quite some time, and they do have space. I'm going to guess that if the Lions have interest, the reason that hasn't happened yet is because Gilmore wants to seek all his options out and is waiting to see if there's a better option for him, whether it be financial or just immediate path to playing time or whatever. But you said there might be another way that they're addressing the corner spot.
No, the other thing I was going to say is that because all this intel is out there about who they've looked at corner, I mean, is it possible it's a smokescreen?
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because you have a limited number of visits, and I don't think you would have 7 corners come in to throw people off the scent.
Okay, then is it possible they draft 2 corners?
I think it is possible.
Because they've doubled down before.
Well, look, I mean, we mentioned there are 4 guys that played last year that have left. They've brought in 2. So I think it's possible they sign a free agent and draft a guy.
Because it's what they did the first draft. They doubled down. They took Lee McNeil. They took Levi Onwuzurike and then Aleem McNeil.
What if I told you that the Lions signed Stephon Gilmore and then trade this year's pick at 29 and next year's first rounder for Quinyon, the rights to draft Quinyon Mitchell?
Okay, it's interesting.
Because they've kind of gotten to the place. I'm about hoarding draft picks. I think the only predictable success in the draft for the teams that seem to do well is they often have 8 to 10 draft picks. They trade and have more draft picks. And look, we're talking about organizations like New England, Pittsburgh, Seattle, although I think New England's draft success has been overrated. Baltimore. These are organizations that have hoarded draft picks, mid to late round picks, and have really been able to take advantage of that. And it speaks to the value of how when you find a mid to late round gem, they don't cost anything. You've got them for a while. And then you can supplement your roster with more expensive players. So I think as we approach this deal, the Lions are actually in a rare place where they probably don't have as many available roster spots as they used to. So hoarding draft picks might not make sense in this snapshot of time of the 2024 draft.
Well, I think one of the reasons why Holmes might like to hoard draft picks is because he likes to put them together to trade. You know, it's not necessarily having, we had a draft class with 12 guys. It's we had 12 picks going into the draft, and we ended up actually using 7 of them because we combined a couple of draft picks to move up to get this guy. I think that's what he likes to do.
248-539-9797. An unnamed texter says,
Brad Holmes has multiple, Doug.
He has multiple. Guys, Brad loves Iowa players. Cooper DeJean is the pick, can play cornerback, safety, and returns kicks. He's very versatile.
Then why haven't they talked to him?
Well, they might have. We just haven't heard it yet. But I mean, if I'm going to go on that theory.
Solid theory.
Does Brad Holmes like Alabama players?
Yeah.
If he truly likes players from Iowa and Alabama. Now, here's what we know. We know that they have watched a lot of Iowa and Alabama film over the last couple of years. They've drafted players from those schools. But I mean, look, they watch film of everybody. It's not like...
And no stone is unturned.
Yeah, it's not like they go, actually, we've just watched McKinstry and DeJean. We're all set. We don't need to look at anybody else. And Terrion Arnold.
And Frank, if you're going to watch Iowa film, you just ignore the offensive side this past year. Just look at the defense. Was he good? He was good. Yeah. He's really good. He's very good. He should like Cooper DeJean. And with the return rules this year changing, you should love Cooper DeJean.
More here. Do you think maybe that's why Brad said there isn't a need for a cornerback because he's got it locked in. He believes he'll get one of them.
It's possible. It's possible. And Dan Campbell talked about free agency and made it seem like they were still in the market for a safety.
Yep.
And there's still plenty of safeties out there, some really good safeties out there, in fact.
Doug, don't forget Tracy Walker gone. That's from Jeff and Warren. Yeah, we were talking about corners specifically, but you're right. Tracy Walker is gone. You just mentioned safety. He's mentioned safety. I said earlier they only got 3 under contract. There's still work to be done this offseason. We thought for a minute there they were going to take a full roster into the draft to allow them to go BPA, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Sir Don writes in, Gator free agent isn't the only way. One could trade like a player and draft pick. My question is, which corner fits the Lions best? 100% true, and they've already done that for Carlton Davis.
Yeah.
Would they do it again? They might. They might.
And we still don't know if they're going to extend Carlton Davis or what's going on there.
Kang, you have any thoughts on this corner talk?
I feel Brad Holmes is pretty straightforward. I think when he has guys in for visits, he's genuinely interested. There's no smoke screen going on. He doesn't have time to divert others, and play the game. I think they're looking at, they have a lot of cornerback and defensive back visits for a reason. He likes to be, it sounds like from all the cuts and interviews Brad Holmes has done, he likes to see players perform live. And if he doesn't get to perform, doesn't get to make it out to one of their games or their scouts, he wants to bring him in to interview him. I think he's just doing his due diligence. And I think there is a hyper focus on secondary. I think all those players you've mentioned, every one of them is obtainable. Brad Holmes has shown he will move up, he will move back, he will stay where he's at. So no one's off limits. You don't just sit there and go, well, we pick at 29, who's going to be available there, and then we focus on that, right? I think there's a reason why they brought in so many defensive backs, guys. I think they are looking for whatever you want to call the Sutton situation. I think that rerouted them a little bit, and now they're looking for secondary help.
Well, look, it's all there in front of them, and it's going to be coming up in 13 days, the first round of the NFL draft.
Well, the other thing you can't ignore, and he has said it, many others have said it too, you can't have enough good defensive backs.
No.
So, I mean, that's why you bring them in.
And the roster's kind of short right now at corner and safety. So if you're looking at like projecting ahead, we're getting some news on this.
Well, the other thing is you look at, we mentioned that Carlton Davis, they haven't extended him yet. So far, he's just here for the year. The other guys they have are on 1-year deals. So when you draft one, you got them for 4 or 5, depending on if it's a first-round pick or not.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have anybody that's guaranteed to be here for more than a year.
And Holmes, he apparently loves looking at cornerback tape. He considers himself kind of a defensive back connoisseur, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when he came in here, they got rid of Okuda. They brought in C.J. Gardner-Johnson, brought in E-Man, brought in Sutton. Now they're looking. Now this past offseason brings in Robertson, brings in Carlton Davis. I think this is one of his expertise areas, or he just really enjoys looking at the secondary. I think they're doing this for a reason. They're going to continue revamping this secondary.